So, welcome to all the learners. I welcome you for the third academic counseling meeting for the subject Human Resource Management. We have covered two of our blocks in the past two academic counseling sessions, that is Block 1 and Block 2. And today we will be discussing Block 3. So, first, let me introduce you that what are the topics what we are going to cover in Block 3. As I have shared in my first class with you, Block 3, it is titled as Performance and Compensation Management. We have already discussed about it while I was doing or while I was talking about the functions of human resource management, that performance appraisal and compensation are the two important functions of HRM, that is human resource management. And in this block, we will be covering performance appraisal, career development, training and development, and also compensation and reward management. So let us start with the academic counseling. I'm sharing the screen with you. I will be referring two PPTs, rather two contents. One is which is available on your e-Gyan Kosh and another is a PPT. So let us first start with your e-Gyan Kosh content which is there, so that as I have been telling you, it becomes easy for you as well to refer after the academic counseling. Vasant, you want to say something? You have raised your hand. Are you having any issue regarding the audio? Can anybody from the meeting just confirm? Am I audible to you? Because I think Vasant has some problem.
Yes, my
You're audible, ma. We can hear you.
Okay.
Yes, you are.
Okay. So, Vasant, you can do one thing. You can log out and then log in. I guess he has already left the meeting. Yeah, he'll rejoin again. So, just give me a minute and I'll share with you the e-content which is available on your e-Gyan Kosh. I'm sharing the entire screen with you. As you see the screen, just let me know. Is the screen visible to everyone?
Yes, it
Ma'am.
is.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay. Okay. Now, see, this is the page which I have opened of your e-Gyan Kosh. And as you can see, it is talking about that block 3, which is performance and compensation management. As I just said, in this block, you have units which cover performance appraisal, career development, training and development, compensation and reward management, which we also call as wage and salary administration. So, as I just shared, that wage and salary administration is also one of the functions of human resource management. We'll go to that particular topic later. Let us start with Unit 8. So in today's academic counseling, we will be discussing about these four areas, broad areas, that is Unit 8, 9, 10, and 11. Just give me a second in between. I might have to go back and join the others. Just a second. Okay. So let us start with first what is performance appraisal. Now let me ask you, because I have already spoken about it in the last two academic counseling sessions. Can anybody from the meeting tell me what do you understand by this concept of performance appraisal? Why do we do performance appraisal? Can anybody tell me from the meeting?
Well, I can say is an evaluation
Mohammed, your audio is not very clear to me.
which is done by the organization to actually determine how employees. Can you hear me now?
Mohammed, I guess there is some issue with the voice. Can you please share that? I was not able to hear you, Mohammed. Can you please share that again?
Okay, okay.
No. Yes, Bora. Bora, you want to say
Can you
something?
hear me now?
Yes,
Yeah.
yes, I think
Can
performance
you hear me now?
appraisal is like the assessment of performance of people in the company,
Okay.
how to assess their performance of employees and to evaluate them. This is what it means.
Yeah. Now, my second question, which follows, is that why do we do performance appraisal?
Please, what,
My
what's
question
the
is,
question?
I repeat my question. I said, according to you, why do we do performance appraisal? Why is it required?
Yeah, it is important because we have to do the performance appraisal in the company to be sure that we can attend our objectives with all people in different position. We know that our objective can be attended well, but if we do not we can think that we are doing well when we are not, we are doing nothing. And it is important to do that performance appraisal to be sure that we can take some decision and we can give some we can advise people and to orient them in their work to attend the company objectives or our business objectives.
Very good. You are absolutely correct. When we talk about performance appraisal, it is basically when I talk about appraisal, appraisal means to do evaluation. And if I'm talking about performance appraisal, that means I am appraising or I'm doing the evaluation of the employees, those who are working with me. See, as you said, that when people are working with you, human resources working with you, if I need to know that how effective they are, how efficient they are they able to accomplish the goal which is given to them by the management, so I need to appraise them, I need to evaluate them. It will also help me to understand that whether those employees working in my organization are facing any problem, and I need to train them, I need to uh, just a second. There's a message. Is an evaluation of employee by the organization to assess their performance in achieving the goals of the company or organization. Yes, Mohammed, you're absolutely correct, because when we talk about, as I was just saying, that when we talk about evaluation, it is basically assessments of the employees, of their performances, because we want productive employees. Why we want productive employees? Because if you have productive employees in the organization, it will help you to reach the goal of the organization. So it is going to be basically where you are going to have higher productivity, where you will be having the accomplishment of goals, where you would be having all kinds of, I would say, cost is going to be minimized, output is going to be on a higher side, you will be able to achieve the desirable objective of the organization. So that is the reason we do measure the performance of the employee on a regular interval. Now, there are different kinds or nature of job which are there in the organization, and for every organization, can we have a same appraisal system? Can we have a same appraisal system?
I think no.
Yes, very good.
Why? Because
I
every organization has its function and has its format.
very good, Isa. It is absolutely correct.
Exactly. Yes, we can't have the same approaches because each and every organization has its own goals and objectives to achieve.
Okay, I would like to just modify that question which I have asked you. That in the organization, can we have the same appraisal for everyone? Same method, appraisal method for everyone in one organization. Yes, Bora, you want to say something? Innocent?
I think
Yeah.
we can have some criteria to be the same, but not all of them,
All of them. Very good.
because in the organization we have different position, we have different mission of the same organization, and we have to evaluate everybody according to their mission in the organization, within the organization. And as organization criteria, we can have some of them, some general criteria of appraisal, and some specific criteria for each person and each position in the organization.
Very, very true. Innocent, you have given an answer which is very close to what I would be now talking about. What happens is when I talk about in same organization, when I have people who are working at different levels. See, we have people who are, or the human resource who are working at the top level, who are working at the upper middle level, who are working at the middle level of the organization, and also the lower level of the organization. So we cannot have the same appraisal system because the nature of job, the duty, the responsibility, what they are doing is different. It might be that in one of the jobs in the same organization, you might be judging a person on his communication skill. Let's say it is a job of marketing. Let's say you want to see how good he or she is with his or her convincing skills, how good he or she is with the persuading skills, how good he or she is with the oratory skills, and vice versa. If I talk about a job of an accountant, let's say somebody who's working in a finance department, I will not be assessing his or her oratory skills, because even if he or she is not very good with the communication, but still he should be having the I would say the knowledge about the technical knowledge about how to work with the software, or the logical thinking, reasoning. That skill is going to be assessed. So in the same organization also, people doing different nature of job are appraised or are evaluated as per the job what they perform in the organization. So we cannot have a same appraisal system for all the employees working in the organization. It varies from one job to the another. It varies from one level to the another. I hope I'm clear.
Yes, you are.
Yes, you are, doctor.
Yes.
Yeah. So,
Yes.
okay. So this is
Clear,
something
ma'am.
which is the basic, when we talk about what performance appraisal is. I'm sharing a PPT with you. Can you all see that PPT?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes. Yes.
Okay, so let us just talk about what performance appraisal means. So, as I've just said, it can be described as a systematic evaluation of performances of several employees so that they can understand all the abilities of a person, and then accordingly, management can grow, develop them in the organization. So, it includes measuring the pay of the employees and comparing it with all the plans and targets. Why do we say that you include measuring the pay? Because when you do the evaluation, you come to know, is it a situation where you are paying a person too less and he's performing more than the standards or the targets what you are offering him or her. So it is very important to understand that to boost the morale of the employee, it is very important that the compensation or the remuneration which is given to the employee is according to the performance, or is according to the work what he or she is doing in the organization. Just a second, I guess somebody was trying to join. Okay,
Enter.
okay, ma'am, it was you. I just got that notification.
No, I admitted.
Acha.
I was
Okay,
there.
ma'am. Okay. So I'll just put that on the slide mode again. So now when I talk about performance appraisal, this is a small meaning about it. Now let us talk about some features or characteristics about performance appraisal. See, it is done on a regular or a continuous basis. I cannot say that in my organization, if I have done the appraisal, let's say in the beginning of the year, or maybe 4 years back or 5 years back, and with that system only I have decided their compensation, their wages, their salary, the training which is to be imparted to them. No, it is not possible, because we live in an environment which is dynamic, which is always changing. So that environment demands many things. It demands regular training, it demands regular providing incentives, or rather I would say monetary benefits to the employees. So how do you provide all these things? We are able to do that if we do on a regular basis performance appraisal. So we say it is done on a continuous basis. Second point, as you can see on the PPT, it is mentioned it is required to determine contribution to attain the given objectives. We do performance appraisal because you want to understand that whether the given objectives are achieved by the employees or not. So that is why we say it is required, or rather it is done in the organization, so that to measure that the objectives, given objectives of the management are achieved or not. Third point, if you see there on the slide, it says it relates to quality of work, workers' performance, and work relationship. Many times, this is a very, very interesting point, and I would like to elaborate it also. Many times, what happens is, see, we have people of different personality, different skills, different abilities. And let's say if you have assigned any job or any work to a person which is not matching to his personality, then what will happen? He or she is going to find excuses for not coming to the organization. He or she would always come up with reasons of absenteeism, and ultimately you will find that he or she at the end of a certain period resigns that job and he leaves the organization. Why does it happen? Because it is not matching, the work is not matching with the personality of that individual. Commonly you might have heard about that we have different types of personality. So my question here again comes to you. What according to you are the introvert and the extrovert people?
Introvert and extrovert people.
Yeah.
An introvert is someone that, sorry, let me start with the extrovert. An extrovert, when someone is said to be an extrovert, that person can talk publicly, he can relate, he can mingle with other people. He has exposure. He can mingle with people, he can talk with people. With respect to introvert, that person is cannot express himself.
Okay.
He don't have the ability or capacity to express himself publicly.
Okay. I completely take that, Isa. Anybody else who would like to add anything more about who are introverts and extroverts? In the organization, if suppose I am assigning a role or a responsibility and without doing the personality assessment, if I give a role to the extrovert person of an introvert job, let's say it's a person who likes to hold meeting, a person who likes, as you said, an extrovert person loves to interact, he loves to socialize. He if you ask him on a very random basis that you have to conduct a meeting, call people, have a kind of a discussion with them, extrovert would be very comfortable in doing it. Whereas introvert person is more a person who's more inward. He is a person who would be very I would say intelligent, very logical, but then when it comes to being social, he or she always avoids that thing. So I'm just asking you, if supposingly the roles are reversed, to an extrovert person, suppose if I give a role of let's say an accountant, and to an introvert person, let's say I give a role of PR, that is of public relation officer, PRO, what will happen in the organization?
With my experience, usually people, they will end up hating what they do. You have two things: performance will drop with
Yes.
either one of them, or there's a likely scenario so that they will step up and do the job. They might surprise you also.
Very good, very good. They will leave the job, they will leave the organization, because ultimately what happens is that is not matching their personality. So every time, yes, Grace, you want to say something, please go ahead.
Yes, and I think it's room to give them, or it's room to allow for frustration for either roles.
Yes.
I personally would get frustrated and possibly resign. So
Yes.
that's one way. Not only just will performance just go low,
Yeah.
but people will start resigning because they don't find the satisfaction. in the job.
Yes. Initially, Grace, what happens is when you talk about resigning, resignation is something which is said to be the extreme of a situation which happens. First thing, what happens is if suppose your personality and your job role is not matching, you go for absenteeism. You know, absenteeism increases in the organization, and people start giving excuses of not coming to the organization, of not coming for the job. And then they have every time, you know, when they have these kind of excuses not to do that work, slowly when they understand that management is not able to get, that it is leading to a frustration, as somebody just said, stress level increases, frustration increases. So the end of that is the person who could have been an asset to you, might be he could have been very good with just a second, I'll just admit few of them. A person who could be, let's say, very good with finance, or let's say accounts, or a back office job, but what have you done in the organization? You've offered him a job which is just opposite to his personality. So then you lose an asset from the organization. So that's the reason. What happens is when you do performance appraisals on a regular basis, on a continuous basis, we come to know, are the people able to do perform as per the task which is given to them? They're able to do things which is matching their personality. It is something where they're happy, where they are contented. So basically, when we talk about performance appraisal, we say that it relates to the quality of the work performance, workers' performance, and the work relationship. It can be expressed as personal opinions, merit rating, employee evaluation, and progress report. Is the PPT visible to all of you?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. So, as I talked about, it is expressed. We are talking about from the appraiser's point of view. I'm not talking from the HR's point of view or employee's point of view. When I say, let's say I am the performance appraiser of yours and I'm doing an evaluation of yours, so I could be biased and I could have my own personal opinions. Or rather, while if I say while I'm doing your evaluation, I would be doing merit rating. That means as per your performance, I might rate you. I have my own criteria of doing your evaluation. I may prepare a progress report that over the period of time how you have performed in my organization, and I do a performance appraisal of all the employees who are working with me. So it is very very sensitive. As you can read that last point, it says it is expressed as, when you do evaluation, there are various methods. We'll be talking about those methods also in the coming few minutes. But just understand, with those methods which are there, it can be in the form of opinions of a person. It can be in the form of ratings, what are done, where the performer or where the employee who are the top performers, they are rated at number one, and then followed by the performance of the employees as it declines. So as we do the ranking, as we do the rating, similarly we do merit rating for the employees. It can be very very subjective in a qualitative manner, so it could be employee evaluation which is done in the form of notes. And also many of the organization, they follow these progress reports, that how you were previously, how you have performed, and how your performance has improved, let's say in a quarter, in a semester, a 6 month, or let's say in a year. So this is how the progress reports are prepared. Again, I would say depending upon the nature of the job. If supposingly I talk about the jobs of, let's say, the teachers, those who are there, or the instructors, those who are there in universities and in colleges. Usually, how do we do their appraisal? It is done on the end of the semester, or maybe the end of that particular course. So the students, they give a feedback about that particular teacher. I hope you all can connect with me in this sense. Even you might be doing it in your country. You do that?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Some of the school with respect to Nigerian here,
Yeah,
just like let me start an example with the secondary schools.
sure.
They do performance appraisal on weekly basis. That's they
Weekly basis.
monitor their yes, they monitor their lesson plans. They evaluate them through their lesson plans.
Okay, so how does that goes, Isa? I mean, can you just elaborate that on lesson plans? That means every week what you have taught to the students or the learners, teacher or the instructor is evaluated. Is that what you are saying?
Yes.
Okay. And is it done in the form of the questionnaires which are prepared and then shared with the students?
No. It is
Then
form
how
of
is it done?
written. It is done on in normally it's done in the form of written. A
Rating.
book will be, yes, a book will be issued to a teacher which is taking a particular subject, and the head of the school, maybe the head of the academics, will evaluate them based on their weekly basis, what they present on weekly basis.
Okay, okay. And is it something where you do like in this form for teachers, or it is like something which happens, like I meant to say, do you like the students are picked randomly? Is it done where you don't have to give your names? It is anonymous, or is it that you are asked to write your name that about a teacher if you are grading him or her? How do you do that?
Ma, come again. I didn't get you. I didn't understand.
I said that, like, suppose let's say in the class right now, in the meeting right now, I ask you to give a feedback about the academic sessions, how it is going. And let's say I am also there, and let's say Smriti ma'am is also there. So what happens is usually the learner might not be very open or comfortable when he or she knows that his or her name would be known to the the counselor. Whereas if I ask you that, let's say there is a form which is shared with you and it is anonymous, that means you don't have to write your name. You just have to fill in the details about, or about the class, how it was, about the academic counseling, how it was, about the counselor, what were your difficulties, what the topics covered. Let's say any area regarding the the counseling which is going on. So you will be more comfortable giving it the second way rather than the first way what I said.
Yes, in terms of evaluating the teachers, ma'am, the
Yeah.
children are select randomly and anonymously. Their name is not given, is not written out, it's something that they do it in privately. This is how it is normally done in some of the schools here.
Yeah, yeah, that is what Isa I'm asking. That is what is basically, this is how we do the appraisals, because what happens is it is a very, very sensitive area, because that is a base for many things in the organization. If I say it is a base for many things in the organization, I mean to say it is the basis on which promotions are done, it is the basis on which trainings are provided, it is the basis on which your incentives, your perks are decided. It becomes the basis at times also of your demotion in the organization. So all the rewards and punishments which come for an employee in the organization is through the performance appraisal, right?
Yes, yes, you're right, ma'am.
Yeah, so that is why we say it is very, very sensitive area in the organizations, in rather I would say in human resource management. And as a function, when you talk about it, utmost care is taken to to have a method, to design a performance appraisal method so that it is more transparent. It is made in that way that there is no biasness attached to it. The employees are contented, they are satisfied that the appraisal system was of that nature, that the management has not done any kind of biasness or apple polishing, and rather it is only the performances which are appraised of the employees. So taking this forward, if I say that what is the importance or need or purpose of doing performance appraisal, so it is basically, as I just said, look at the third point which is written. It becomes the basis of promotion, transfer, trainings. It is something which is considered for the success and failure of an employee. It helps you to ascertain whether the behavior which is integrated with the role requirement, it is matching, it is going in line with the role requirement, for what task you have given to the employee. I've just given you example of introvert and extrovert, people, and the role reversal if it happens. The data which is used for selection for training and development also comes from performance appraisal. Because if I want to send somebody for a training program, just a second. I guess somebody wants to join. I'll just add that. Okay, so I was just saying that if I want to, send somebody for a training program, so again, on which grounds or on which basis I decide that my employees are to be sent for a training or development program? So it comes from performance appraisal. So that data of performance appraisal is also used for this purpose. It is basically fifth point is saying that it ascertains the potential for special projects. Now, let's say in my organization, I have a major project or a big project which I want to give to my employees. When I appraise them, when I evaluate them, I come to know where do they stand, how good they are with the knowledge, skill, and abilities, what they possess. And if there is a major project or a special project where I want my HR to be a part of it, I can easily pick the human resource from the appraisals which I do on a regular basis. So it gives me also from the management's end, a kind of an understanding about the potential of the human resource, which can be used for further assignments, big assignments in the organization. The sixth point, it says it is just opposite of the fifth point, which is written as it helps you to understand the potential of employees and give them special projects. It also helps you to pinpoint the poor performers, because when you do appraisal, it happens that performers, the I would say, the performance per person, people those who are very good with the performance, they'll also be highlighted. People who are the average performers, they'll also be highlighted, and those who are lacking in the performance and not able to complete the task, their performance also is going to be like it will be coming in the notice of the management. So it will pinpoint the poor performance, and then you can take always corrective actions. What could be the corrective actions? If I say, it could be maybe training sessions can be organized. It could be that you can send them for let's say they are demoted in the organization, that means they are vertically they're moved down in the hierarchy. It could be that you might not consider them for the monetary incentives, and you give them punishments that because you're not performing as per the task which is, or the goal which is given to you. So many corrective actions can be taken. There are different ways of making the employees learn. It also reduces grievances. The seventh point there says, now let us understand what is a grievance. Grievance is something which is said to be a discomfort. Now, this discomfort in the vocabulary of HR means it could be imaginary, it could be real. What do I mean by this? It could be imaginary and it could be real. Let's say I am an employee who is working in an organization and I have certain grievances. So it could be any dissatisfaction. It could be a dissatisfaction with my salary. It could be a dissatisfaction with the ambience where I sit. It could be a dissatisfaction with the co-workers of mine. It could be a dissatisfaction with the leader or the subordinate superior with whom I am working. It could be a dissatisfaction with the policy of the organization, any area. It might be a grievance which really exists, or it can also be a grievance which is just imaginary, which I have in my mind because of my personality. You might have observed now with you also, there are people around you who always have a habit of having certain dissatisfactions, always cribbing that this is not good or this is not as per the the let's say the norms, or let's say not as per the what it should be, in which manner. Even if the things are going okay, they have their own reasons of discomfort. So when you do performance appraisals in a very transparent manner, it reduces these areas of grievance, because human resource knows that management has followed a certain procedure, a method which is transparent, which is not biased, which is which is actually as per the work or the task what we have performed. So that is also, if you do it in this way, it reduces grievances. It improves job performance. Many times what happens is healthy competition comes in when you do performance appraisal. The employees, those who are there with you in the organization, they come to know where they stand and how they can improve their job performance. So it's a kind of a reality check with their performance, that this is what you are doing and this is something what is expected. It might be their employees performing much more what the management was expecting, and it could also be that he or she is performing very let's say below performance or a very low performance as per what is expected from him or her by the management. So when you do performance appraisal, you can go ahead with improving your job performance, coming up with very good results. And it also, last point which is mentioned there is, it indicates to employees about their accomplishments. When you do performance appraisal, like if you, as it is the same way as you give your exam. When you give your exam, you come to know that whether you have the knowledge about the subject, whether you are able to understand about it, what are your accomplishments, what are your learnings. Same manner, when the employee is also working in the organization and you do an appraisal of him or her, so he comes to know what he has achieved, what he has learned, and what are the areas where he or she has to still work. And it is something where, utmost care needs to be taken in the organization or in the management. Is that part of need and importance of performance appraisal clear to everyone?
Yes, it's clear, Doctor.
Yes, ma'am. It's clear.
Okay. Do you have any questions till now, or shall we proceed?
You can proceed.
Okay.
We can proceed.
Okay. I'm just sharing the screen because when I interact with you, I would like to, stop sharing my screen, and if possible, you can switch on your cameras, so that becomes kind of a more personal connect with me. Just a second. Okay, is the PPT visible again?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. All this what I am discussing with you, it is already there in your e-Gyan Kosh content, which is shared with you, which is available online. So you can refer to that later, and you can just have a check with what I have covered through this PPT. And these all topics are there with the explanation, detailed explanation of it. Now, talking about the process of how performance appraisals are done. See, usually, if I want to appraise any employee in the organization, the first important step for me would be that from the management side, I would be setting a standard. Because if I want to measure your performance, I need to have a bar at which I will be measuring. That if I say, just a second. Okay. I'll share that PPT again and I'll put that on slide mode. So I was just talking about that when we want to assess the performance of an employee, how do we do that? There is a standard which is set by the management. And if suppose I want to measure the performance of, let's say, a person who is into a job of marketing, all of you understand what are the roles of a marketing employee or a person who is into marketing department?
Yes, understood.
Yeah. So if somebody is for the role of, let's say, doing marketing for any product, and you want to just measure his performance by doing an evaluation with how effectively is he able to sell the products of the company. So what will the management do? They will set a standard and they'll say that by the end of the week, I'm taking a hypothetical example, just an imaginary thing, that let's say a kind of a standard is given to him, that by the end of the week your performance is going to be assessed or measured, and the target which is given to that employee who's into the marketing department is, let's say, of 20 mobile phones. Let's say it is a mobile company. So what has management they have decided, they have set a standard, and that standard is of 20 sale of 20 mobile phones. And now let's say if it is decided by the management, the second step is to communicate that standard. What do we mean by communicating that standard? It means sharing it with that concerned employee, making him aware about it, making him know about it, that this is something what the management is expecting from you. So when you communicate that standard, he would be knowing that by the end of the week I need to sell 20 mobile phones. On that basis, on that grounds, my performance is going to be appraised. So look at the first two steps. What are the first two steps? First is you have set a standard and you have communicated that standard with the employee, concerned person. Now, once you've communicated that, the third step comes is you measure the standard. What is measuring the standard? That after the completion of that week, how many mobile phones he or she was able to sell. Let's say he was able to sell 30 mobile phones. So what is the condition right now? That is the fourth step, which says comparing the standards with the actual performance. The target which was given to that employee was only of 20 mobile phones. But with his persuading skills, with his marketing skills, he was able to convince 30 different customers and was able to sell more than the standard. So that means he have performed much more than what was the standard given to him by the organization. So next, fourth step is, fifth step rather, I would say, is where you discuss these results. It could be in both the ways. I have taken a very positive example where I say the standards were less and the actual performance was more. It can be even vice versa, where you say standard was of 20 mobile phones and only the actual performance has been of 5 or 6 mobile phones. So when you do this discussion, it basically you try to understand that after the comparison of the standard and the actual performance, what were the loopholes, or what were the areas how he was able to do it effectively, or let's say if he was not able to do that effectively, what were the problems, concerns of that particular employee, where did he face that difficulty. So these are discussed, the results are discussed. Finally, you go to the last step of the performance appraisal, that is, you take corrective standards or take corrective actions. What is taking corrective standards? Many times, what happens is management they set standards which are very, very imaginary. Let's say I've taken a very, I would say a real number where I say that I've just given a target of selling 20 mobile phones in a week. But I suppose the target which is given to you by management is of selling 500 mobile phones in a week. That is something which is not a realistic target. It is something which is completely a zone where you are expecting too much. So when you do performance appraisal, what do? You try to understand after discussing the results that if the employee was not able to achieve that standard, what corrective standards can be framed, what corrective actions can be taken so that the employee is able to perform as per the expectation of the management and his or her performance is up to the mark. So this is the entire process of performance appraisal, how usually it happens in every organization. I repeat that quickly. First is you set standard. After you set standard, that is your goals, what you want to achieve or what you want the employees to achieve. Then you communicate those standards with the employee. You measure those standards. You compare the actual and the standard performance. Discuss the results with the employee. And if there are certain loopholes or there are areas where you have certain difficulties, you try to take certain corrective actions so that the employee is able to achieve the targets in the coming time. Is it clear?
It's very clear, madam.
Okay.
Yes, ma'am. It's clear.
Yes, very clear.
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah.
That's
I
clear.
have I've just tried to take an example because I thought that if I'll take an example, you'll always be able to connect with that concept. So let's continue then. If the process is clear to you, I'll just share that PPT again. Just give me 1 minute of time. I think my throat is not okay. Just 1 minute. Okay, I've shared that PPT again with you. Is it visible?
Yes, yes.
Yes, yes, yes.
Let us start with that what should be the good rules, or I would say important rules for a good performance appraisal to be done in the organization. First and very important point is that it should encompass all levels and category of employee. Any performance appraisal should not be only for one level, or rather, you say that you do appraisals only for the lower level or the middle level employees who are working in the organization. Then what happens is they have a kind of this negative feeling for the management, that as we are working at the lower level or the middle level in the organization, so only our performances are appraised or evaluated. So a good performance appraisal says that it should cover all the levels and category of employees, whether you talk about employees working at the top, upper middle, lower level, or the foremen working in the organization. Second important rule is that necessary training should be given to the evaluators. That means anyone who is doing the evaluation, he or she should be trained about the entire evaluation system. There should be an understanding about that what is this evaluation, what you are doing, what are the group of people to whom you have to evaluate, what should be the criteria, what is going to be the method or tool of evaluation, how you need to do it without hurting the feelings or emotions of the employees in the organization. So proper training should be given to the evaluator so that they understand that if it is an evaluation for, let's say, lower level employees, so how we need to deal with them, how we need to understand that in which way the evaluation needs to be done. If it is middle level, how you need to categorize them, what area should be covered in evaluation, and similarly if they are from middle and upper level organization, so what should be the criteria for evaluation. Evaluators should always know the purpose and value of plan. See, if I'm doing an evaluation in the organization, I should be very clear that why I'm doing an evaluation. Is it done for understanding that I have to see that whether people are able to do the work effectively? Am I need to, or rather, I would say, am I going to shortlist the employees after the evaluation for, let's say, a training program? Or let's say it is going to be a basis for promotion, or it is going to be where I am going to provide them monetary incentives, or I'm going to give them big positions in the organization. So why is this evaluation done? That evaluators should know that what is the actual essence of that evaluation program. There are certain factors or terms of evaluation which should be very clearly understood. If, as an evaluator, I am not clear with the factors, I am not clear with the terms of evaluation, I'll not be able to do an effective evaluation. And thus, what will happen? The entire evaluation program will fail. So, for a good appraisal system in the organization, evaluator plays a very, very important role. And he should be a one, or he should be a person who is very much known about the terms, the factors of evaluation, and the different criterias which should be there for the evaluation. Next point, as you can see, it says the evaluation must measure the performance against the organization need. See, if a person is very good with his performance but is not able to match with the organizational goal or objective, his performance is of no use to the management. So ultimately, while I am doing an evaluation, my main goal should be that the employees or the HR's performance should match with the organization goal and objective. So if suppose for me, I just took an example a few minutes back, that for a marketing job, if let's say it is a mobile company where I'm selling mobile phones, and a person is very hardworking, he is there in the organization, but when it comes to persuade customers, when it comes to sell the products, he's not able to do it. So he is of no use to me, because the role which I have given to him, he's not able to do justice with that particular role, or the, I would say, the objective what I have given to him. So whenever you do performance appraisal, you should keep in mind that the performance of the employee should always, lead to organizational goal and objective. This performance appraisal, when you do, there should always be a link to promotion, trainings, transfers, etc. Why do we say that? Because it creates a kind of a very strong motivation for the employees as well, because they know their morale is boosted because they know that if we will be performing well, if we are going to perform as per the need or the requirement of the organization, we have certain incentives which are following. We will be promoted to higher ranks or higher jobs. We will be sent for, let's say, good training programs. It is going to be growth of the individual also in the organization. It is going to be certainly a kind of a appraisal which will help me, that maybe because of my skills I would be given bigger assignments. So there should always be a link to all these things while you do performance appraisal. We move on to the, if it is clear, we'll move to the next part. Is it clear?
It's clear.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
Okay.
That is all basic what we have just discussed about performance appraisal, meaning, need, importance of performance appraisal, and why do we do it, what a good performance appraisal system should have. Now let us talk about what are the methods of performance appraisal. See, as you can see, I've classified those methods into two categories, that is traditional and modern methods. We have already discussed about it in the last few classes, that evolution of human resource, it is not something which is a very new concept, but it has been evolved since the principles of Henry Fayol, F.W. Taylor, in the era of 90s 1920, when all the experiments were done. Remember, we have talked about Hawthorne experiment also. So there were certain traditional methods, that is, which were used in the past but are still very effective. And now, which we talk about in the current situation or the scenario, there are certain modern methods which we are using to evaluate the employees in the organization. Both these methods, traditional and modern, they have certain advantages and limitations. Traditional method and modern method, if I say what are these different types of methods, so you can see it is listed on the in the slide, that ranking method, paired comparison method, grading, forced distribution method, and a confidential report. These are few of the traditional method. I'm not saying that apart from this there are no more traditional methods. There are many traditional methods which were and which were used in the organizations, but I've picked few of them which are the common ones, and I'll explain you these traditional methods and then we'll move on to the modern methods. See, just to list what are the modern methods, we have MBO, which is very commonly used, which is called as management by objectives. We have behaviorally anchored rating scales, as nowadays, if you talk about when we measure the appraisal or we measure the performance of the employee, behavior plays a very important role. So we call this method also as BARS method, BARS, that is behaviorally anchored rating scales. We have assessment centers where the appraisals are done of the employee. We have a 360-degree performance appraisal. This is very, very important because this is one of the highly, I would say, adopted methods nowadays. This is revised, this 360-degree, and we also have a concept of 720-degree performance appraisal. I'll talk about it later in the coming few minutes. What is 360 and 720-degree performance appraisal? And last, we have human resource accounting, which is called as HRA. Let us start with first method, that is the ranking method. All of you know that it's a very common understanding that you rank people. We rank students also in the class. We rank employees also in the organization. How do we rank them? It is one of the very simple and a formal method where you compare the performance of all the employees, and the one who has performed as per, let's say, the order of worth, so you place him at the top. The one who has performed the worst, you place him at the least. That means you rank him at the lowest. So employees are ranked from highest to lowest. That means those who are the high performers, the top performers, they get the first rank in the organization, and those who have the least performance or the lowest performance or the worst performance, they are ranked at the lowest. Very simple, very easy method, one of the very old and simple formal systematic method which was used for performance appraisal. Coming to the second one is paired comparison. Paired comparison means what? That every employee is compared with the other employee. So it is not now that you are ranking that when I rank, how do I rank? Let's say I have 50 employees with me. So one first person will be compared with the remaining 49. Second person will be compared with the another 49. Third one will be compared with the another 49 people, those who are there. And then you prepare a rank, right? Paired comparison is what? One person compared with the other person. So you don't compare that person with the all of the remaining ones, those who are there. Rather, you put them into groups. You make certain pairs of them. And how do you do this? You prepare certain bunch of slips and you put them, you write their names, you coin their names in that, and then later pick those chits and put them into different pairs. So you are divided. Like I say, let's say from the session right now, if I say, and I pick few of you, so let's say Innocent is going to be compared with Vasant. Let's say Isa is going to be compared with Akim. So it is basically where I've put you into pairs rather than I'm comparing Innocent with all the remaining others in the class, or compare Vasant with the others in the class. Is it clear?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes.
Yeah. So just a second, I'll just put that on slide mode again. So these are the two differences between, the ranking and the paired comparison method. Again, I would say traditional methods which were used. Grading method is a third kind of a traditional method. How do you grade people? So there are different scales which are used. Now in this, what you do, you make certain categories of worth. Like if I say, usually, how do we grade them? We grade them, a person is outstanding, a person is satisfactory with his or her performance, and he or she has been unsatisfactory with the performance what he or she has done. So you give them grades. Let's say outstanding is A grade, let's say satisfactory is B grade, and the unsatisfactory performance is C grade. So how do you describe a person's or an employee's performance? You describe him or her on the basis of the performance as per the grade what he receives. So let's say, adding to it, those who have got the grade of A, that is of outstanding performance, it might be the management takes a call for sending them for, or let's say giving them higher rank, higher role, higher responsibilities, and they're promoted to the next level. Let's say those who are having the grade of C, that is unsatisfactory, so they might be demoted in the organization and punishments would be given to them. Let's say those who are getting the grade of satisfactory, they would be into the category where management will take a call of, let's say, sending them to the training programs. So this is how you grade employees, and this is something which is very carefully defined also. You make these grades keeping in mind that how the employees are going to be put into different grades in the organization. Is it clear?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, it is.
Okay.
Yeah. Very
The
clear.
fourth traditional method which is used is called as forced distribution. It's like a hyperbola. Have you seen a hyperbola? Anybody in the class, have you seen a hyperbola?
Means
Kind of.
hyperbolic.
I just give me a minute. I'll just share the image of a hyperbola with you, so that you have an idea what I'm saying. Or rather, I'll say, not actually, just a second. Just give me 1 second. Basically, this entire method of appraisal, when we talk about, that is the forced distribution method, we it's kind of we have a preconceived notion that from all the employees, those who are working with me in the organization, we have a kind of notion that uh, 80-20%, it's a kind of a rule what we follow, that 80% of my employees are going to be marked with a good performance. I'll just show you that graph, how we do that by just sharing an image of it. It's a kind of a bell curve. When we talk about the graphical, rather the force distribution curve, I'm just trying to show you. Yeah, I think this is more, related to what I'm saying. I'll just share my screen, and as you see the screen, just let me know. Are you able to see the screen?
Yes.
Yes,
Okay.
ma'am.
Can you see this image?
Yes, we are seeing.
See, here it is an example which is taken of 20% who are there in a team. And see, it's a kind of, yeah, see this, it's a kind of a graph which assumes forced distribution, that you have distributed those 20 people, that out of the 20, you will be considering 8 people to whom you are going to consider for bonus. There are going to be people who are going to be not to be considered for any bonus which is going to be given by the management. Whereas I have a preconceived notion, I will be having few of them, 20% of them who will be given the bonus. And I assume that from the remaining, I'll be firing 2 people, and the remaining 2 people who are there, I'll give them 50%. So it goes like a positive, kind of a graph which is there leading towards the negative. So it has both the reviews. Putting it in this way, see, look at this graph which is there. It talks about dealing with negative and the positive reviews together. Can you see that? Am I able to show you that?
Yes, doctor.
Yes, you
Yes.
So, somebody has unmuted. I request you to please mute yourself. It is creating disturbance. Kofi, please mute yourself. Thank you so much. So when I say forced distribution method, this is basically where the management or the companies, or they assume that the employee's performance level is going to be into a normal statistical distribution. If you look at the slide right now, we have just considered 10%, 20%, 40%, then again 20% and 10%. So it's going from negative towards the positive side. So there's a kind of a rating where you assume that large number of employees are going to be of the category where they have the promotional ability, their performances are going to be good, and you try to reduce this biasness. Basically, forced distribution is done where you are planning to eliminate or reduce the bias. That is why we say forced distribution, distributing the employees, the number of employees in such a way that you are dividing them, you are putting them into the category that these many are going to be, that those are not going to work in the organization. But same time, you will be having employees who are going to be considered for promotion, for transfers, for incentives, bonuses, etc. Last traditional method which was used was a confidential report. I think this is very much known to you because we hear about it very regularly, that when I am evaluating any performance of, let's say, a student also in a class, there are reports which are prepared, confidential reports which are prepared, and this evaluation is made by the immediate boss. How do we prepare these confidential report? Like suppose you are working in an organization, your immediate boss or supervisor would be preparing a qualitative report of yours, will be mentioning your strength, your weakness, about your character, your attendance, your discipline, your behavior, your attitude. On all these areas or criteria, he will be preparing a qualitative descriptive report, and that is very, very confidential. That is not shared with the other employees. It is just prepared by the immediate boss or supervisor and is submitted to the top management. Again, traditional method of appraising the employee. Is it clear?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
Yes, it
Yes,
is.
Let
ma'am.
us, okay. Okay, let us move to the modern method, which is called as MBO. One of the very, very, I would say, effective methods which are used in the organization, that is called as management by objective. Now, what happens as management by objective is, before you set a target for the employees that you want to measure or you want to assess, management together with the subordinate, they jointly identify the common goals, they define individuals' responsibility, they tell them what is expected, the results which are expected from them, and then, as per their responsibility, which is defined, the role which is given to them, they guide the employee, the subordinate, help them to achieve that particular goal, and then they assess the contribution of the employee in the organization. So more realistic goals are set. Like, if you remember, I just gave you an example a few minutes back where I said that in a mobile company, let's say a target which is set is of 20 mobile phones. Still sounds something which is okay, you can do that. But when I say, giving you a target of 500 mobile phones to be sold in a week, that is something which is really unrealistic, where it might not be something which is possible for the employee. So MBO does what? MBO is basically, when I'm setting that target of 50 or of 500 or of 20, the superior will be calling the subordinate. They will together discuss. Subordinate will be giving his or her input, would be telling that what are, or rather, what is his efficiency and how much he feels that he will be able to sell that particular, sell the mobile phones. And on the basis of that, common goals are set jointly. So they'll decide the area of responsibility, they'll set certain targets, and then on the basis of those targets which are set jointly, then the performances are appraised or evaluated. Is it clear?
It's clear, madam.
Okay.
Yes.
Now let us move to the second modern method of performance appraisal, which I just said is called as bars method. Nowadays, you know that when we do the assessment of the employee, only quantitative assessment is not important, but you also have to measure the behavior of the employee. So bar is a method which helps you to do both the measurements, that is the quantitative data as well as the qualitative data of that employee's performance. Like, I would like to take that same example and I would like to quote, if I say an employee is able to sell 20 mobile phones in a week's time, that is what a quantitative data, I'm talking in numbers. But when I talk about a qualitative data, I would be talking about that what was his or her, just a second, what was his or her analytical skills, was he really very good with solving any kind of the issues which raised during the sale of the mobile phone, was her his or her results were accurate, do you feel that the quantity of work what he has done or the efforts what he has put in selling the mobile phones were very, very high, and still the results have not come? So I'm doing both the measurements. I'm assessing behavior also of the employee towards his or her work, towards his or her job which was given to him, and I'm also doing a measurement which is quantitative, that is what number of mobile phones he was able to sell as per the standard which was given to him by the management. So bar is a method which is basically useful in comparing an individual's performance against specific examples of behavior, and you rate that behavior according to certain numerical ratings. Look at the slide, you will see there are certain criterias which are mentioned there: quantity of work, quality of work, judgment. As you can see on the slide, and I'll just read out those areas where we have put certain bars also as per the performance. Was the quantity of work very low and erratic? Was the quantity of work very satisfactory? Or was the quantity of work above expectation? So, volume, how was the volume? So, I'm trying to get a kind of a appraisal about the behavior also of the employee. I'm talking about quality of work. Was he able to get the results in an accurate manner with the model which was decided by the management? Were the results accurate and thorough, or the results were generally inaccurate and were not thorough? Same way, judgment is also one area which is considered, and there are certain bars or rather rating scales are there on which you are assessing or measuring the judgmental skills of that particular employee. Am I clear with what is bars method?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes.
Okay. Let us come to the third one, that is assessment centers. See, assessment centers are usually used for the managers where you try to involve them in different kinds of activities, because when we talk about these managers who are to be the upcoming managers, rather, I would say, so you need to evaluate their overall personality. So these assessment centers are basically located where managers come together, they participate in the job related exercises, they are evaluated by trained observers, and the principal idea to make a person part of these assessment centers is that you want to study over a period of time that how was his or her behavior, how he or she was able to perform. So an overall assessment of his personality is done with the help of the assessment center. Please keep that in mind. When we talk about assessment centers, we are talking about training, or we are talking about assessing the managers those who are at the managerial jobs. Then we have a 360-degree performance appraisal, which you will find is a very common method of appraisal which is used in the organization. What is 360? 360 degree is like a complete circle where you try to get the appraisal not only from one person, that is the superior or maybe the manager for that employee, but with every person with that employee interacts. Let's say it is the customer, they are the subordinates, or they are the supervisors, or they are the peers who are working along with him. You try to get the data from all of them and you try to interact with all of them to know how he or she is working and what is his performance. So usually the appraisers, they provide information or a feedback. That means, let's say I talk about the same person, the one example which we have taken of a marketing man who is selling mobile phones. So I'll not be appraising him if I'm following a 360-degree performance appraisal from the subordinates, superiors point of view, that whether he was able to get the target or not. I'll also talk to the customers with whom he has interacted. I'll also talk with the peers with who are working with him at the same level. I'll also talk to the subordinates who are there in his or her team so that I can have a complete evaluation of that employee. This is usually done in the form of questionnaires, where these questionnaires are prepared and you ask these stakeholders, that is superiors, subordinates, peers, customers, to give a kind of response for that person, and that is done on an anonymous basis. Is it clear?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Just a second. I guess somebody wants to join. Just give me a minute. Okay, so we'll talk about the last method, that is your HR accounting method. Again, very, very interesting method, a new modern method of measuring the performance of the employee. Here, what you do is accounting. See, we are doing an assessment in terms of cost and in terms of performance. You know that management spends a lot of money in training the employees, in procuring them, giving them salary, giving them incentives. And suppose in return to what cost the management is spending on that employee, they are not getting the result, they are not getting the contribution from the employee. So they say that the employee is a liability to the management. It could be vice versa also. If you are following HR accounting method, how will you compare the performance of the employee? You will measure the money, that means the salary what you are paying to an employee. What are the money, or what is the money which you have spent for training programs? How much amount of money have you spent for giving him bonus, for giving him, let's say, other perks and other benefits? But in return, what is that employee doing for you? Is he contributing in the growth and development of the organization? Is it leading to the profits in the organization? Is that employee able to create goodwill of that particular organization? If the answer to all these questions is yes, we say that the employee is an asset, and he is an asset to the company. Through the HR accounting method, you come to know that performance is greater than the cost what the management is spending. If suppose the cost is more and the performance is poor, then or the contribution is poor, so we say the employee is a liability in that organization. So cost and contribution are the two things which are compared when you go for the HR accounting modern method of appraising the employee. With that, I finish that entire topic of performance appraisal, and I hope and I believe that I was able to, share that knowledge of performance appraisal with you, and you're able to understand the concept. Would anybody
ma'am.
like to answer that?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Till here, do you have any questions? Should we proceed?
Yes.
Okay. So I would just like to, share about again that from your block 3, we have covered the entire unit 8, that is performance appraisal, and it has actually took a lot of time also of for completing the entire thing, because that is very important unit, performance appraisal, and I wanted to go in detail with that. Now, very quickly, I'll move with the remaining topics which are there, that is career development, training and development, and compensation and reward management. Let us start with the introduction to what career development is. I would like to, talk about this more rather than showing you the content, because if I'll go through the content, it is going to take time, and I'll not be able to talk about the 3 remaining areas which are there. Training and development, again, I'll show you a PPT, and then we can pick through the methods which are there. Just understand first what are these career development plans and schemes, and why do companies or management they go for career development. Let us just have an understanding first from your end. What is career development? What do you think we mean by this term, career development, career planning? What is this?
From my end, this is where HR sits with maybe line managers and the employees. Then they map the way forward for the employee from where they are.
Very good.
They assess from where you are to the next steps, maybe in the next 5-10 years, where you see yourself and where they see us. They see
Absolutely, absolutely correct.
you. In addition, when this is done, then they also look at the skills that you have and where you aspire or where they think you can fit, and how they can support you, maybe through training, on job posting, so that you gain those experiences that are required for the next post.
Yes, it is absolutely correct. Anybody else would like to share anything on this? What is career development, career planning? Jibril,
Yes, ma'am.
you want to say something? Please go ahead.
Now, career development is a part of an organization provide to employees professional growth, especially to employees movement to a new position or project within the organization.
Jibril, I was not able to get you. Can you just write that in the chat box? Your voice is not very clear.
Okay, ma'am. Now, excuse me,
Yes, Jibril.
the process of choosing a career, improving your skills, and advancing along a career path.
Jibril, again, not very clear and not able to hear you. I request you to please write that. That will be easy for me because I guess your voice, which is coming, it is breaking in between for me.
Okay, ma'am. Thank you.
By the time he is writing about it, anybody from the meeting right now would like to say anything about what is career path, what is career development, why do we go for a career path for employees in the organization? Have you heard about these terms before? As you just said, that career development is basically where the management tries to help the employee in understanding that where he is right now and what he can be or what he can achieve. So there is a career path which is drawn. Career path is basically that gives you a clarity about like what could be the possible, I would say, positions which that employee can get in the organization. So like what qualification is required, what more qualification is required, what more experience is required for him or her, so that he can attain or he can achieve a certain position in the organization. So what do organizations do? They do career planning, which is really very very important. And it is also where the organizations, they come up with these systems which we call as career movements and growth opportunities. See, ultimately, if I talk about the employees, their morale has to be boosted, because if they are going to be happy and satisfied and they know that it is the organization which is thinking for me and they're helping me understand that how my career could be, my career path can be mapped out, what I am today right now, and for like achieving a particular position, let's say a very high rank in the organization, what skills are required, or what talents are required, or what kind of more let's say qualification or certificates are required. So you do a career planning with the existing employees of yours, and it is basically done to boost the morale of the employee, to give him the clarity, to bring a sync between the individual's let's say expectation and the expectation of the management. So it helps to increase even the level of responsibility. The employee becomes more responsible. He gains certain kind of power within himself or herself when he knows that career planning is done, and after 4 years or 5 years of my career in this organization, this is where I am going to reach out to a particular position. So that is why the career plannings or career developments are done. Many I would say stages are there in this career planning which is done. It is already there in your e-gyan kosh content which is shared. I'm just reading out few points from there. Just a second. Yes, Jibril, you have written something and I'll read out that thing. Career development is the process of choosing a career, improving your skills, and advancing along a career path. Absolutely, absolutely correct. That is what I've just spoken about, and your answer is very, very close to that. So, when we talk about these career plannings which are done, you make the employee feel more at home. You make him understand that yes, we are thinking about you. So you do it. How do you do it? These career planning, there are different stages. First stage is at the entry level. So when an employee enters the organization, that is the individual has just started his process, so you direct him, you tell him that this could be the further progress or your mid career or your late career, how it can be. So you, what experience is required, what trainings are required, you try to mentor him, so that progress with the progress what he does after he enters in the organization, you do the career plannings with him. These are stages, at the entry level, at the progress level. Then when he reaches his mid career, he has already reached to a state of plateau where he's losing, you don't want him that he should lose interest, and you want him that he should come up with different cross functional moves. So you go for job rotations, you go for giving him special assignments, you try to give him rewards, keep his energy high, give him motivation. That is what is mid career planning is done. Late career planning is basically where now the individual is settled. He is more towards his or her phase where he has already enjoyed many responsibilities, he has already contributed, he has faced many challenges. So you give him reassurance in this stage, and you do a kind of reassurance that how management is going to take care of his future, what will happen to him, what kind of benefits he'll enjoy when he leaves the organization. So there are basic like facilities what the management plans for him at the later career stage. That is what one of the stages. And end of the career is basically the phase when we say there is disengagement. What is this disengagement? Where it is basically the employee who is not now the part of, I would say, a full-time employee. He has ended his career, he's on the stage of retirement, and finally you have to understand that at this stage you cannot make him learn, you cannot make him push towards understanding the different technological changes what are happening, or you cannot demand from him that he has to be very swift and quick with the changes. So these are what are the career planning stages, which are, I repeat those stages again. How do we do it? First is at the entry level, then it comes with the progress level, how is progressing, mid career, late career, and by the end of the career. You continuously, as a good management, as a good organization, you keep on planning different things with the employee. There are certain career anchors which we say that they're different factors, which are basically very important while you do career planning. That is, you take care of the managerial competency, that if you are planning certain or doing certain career planning, you have certain career goals where you want the person to come up with his interpersonal skills. If you find that he has very good managerial skills, so you develop his managerial competence. You will be developing his emotional competence, because a manager has to be very emotionally competent, because he has to be very empathetic when he is dealing with the employees. So the quality of interpersonal relationship, how he develops his analytical skills, so these anchors are developed so that he is able to manage people. If you find that there are certain functional competencies in him or her, so you will try to give him certain positions which are not managerial but are more towards technical, or let's say technician work, where continuous development of a technical talent is required, because he is very good with all these competencies. So that becomes an anchor for him while you are doing his career planning. Then if suppose somebody is very good with creativity, so you will give him more of entrepreneurial attitude. You will find that, okay, this is something where you can come up with, or these are the roles which you can take. So this is how career plannings and career developments are done. Many of the organizations, if I talk about the career development programs, they have their own plans. Here I would just like to share something with you. Just a second. Is the screen visible to you?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Look here, when we are doing career developments, how they are planned. What are the different components of career development, if I say? So you have career development program and you have career planning. So these are two different areas which are covered. When you have internal career assessments, you give them career opportunities, you understand what is the employee's need and opportunity. That is developing the entire career development program for them. Career planning, or the process and the activities where you understand what kind of people you have in the organization, that is we call as HR inventory. You try to develop that employee's potential, because you ultimately want, that if individual will grow, it is the organization which is going to grow in the organization. In the organization will grow in that industry. So you try to develop certain training programs, you come up with development programs, you perform various career counseling sessions, you come up with various reviews in the career development plan which you have made, a career path which you have drawn for them, and you try to work on the entire planning and development of the employees to keep them satisfied, to keep them happy, to make them understand that they are equally important for the organization. So it's kind of a very, I would say, a feeling which makes an employee very connected with the organization. That is why most of the organizations, they go for career planning and growth and development schemes. Okay, so that is all what is your unit 9, which is all about. Read that unit 9, and if you have any concerns that we can discuss in the coming counseling session, I'll just move on with something which I feel that needs more of my time, that is your third block, which is training and development. Just a second, I'll share a PPT with you. We are hardly left with another 20-25 minutes. Okay, as you see the PPT, just let me know.
No.
No, Innocent, I haven't shared. I'm just sharing. Okay, is the screen visible to you?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes.
Okay. So we'll just move forward with basically what training is. That is your next topic in that block. And what are the different methods of training? Training is basically where we talk about teaching, or rather making employees learn how they can perform their work in an effective manner. And again, there is some noise coming from the other end. I request you to please mute yourself. Uh, yeah, it's muted. Thank you. So basically, when we talk about training, what it is basically a process of teaching the current employees or the new employee who joins the organization, and you want him to perform his or her task in a more effective manner. So you train him. So this is basically a kind of an act where you increase the knowledge and skill of an employee so that he can do his or her job in a most effective manner. It is also called as teaching learning activities which are done to upgrade the knowledge, skill, and attitude of an employee to perform certain tasks. How is training different from education? If I ask you, so there are certain say basis of differences what are listed on the slide. Training, if we say, it is more narrow, it is more job related, but education, when we say, it is more broad, it is more theoretical, and trainings are more specific. Like if I want you to learn, let's say, how to use a mobile phone or how to work on a laptop, so I'll be giving you a training and I'll be teaching you what are the different functions in the laptop are or in the desktop are. And after a certain let's say period of time, let's say for 1 day or 2 day, I've given you a training, I'll measure your performance, that I'll ask you to perform and work on the laptop. If you're able to do that effectively, I'll understand that my training was successful. But when we talk about education, that's a more of broader concept. We have many general or theoretical concepts we are talking about. We are not making it very specific for learning a particular skill. The nature of training is more applied and practical, as I just said, by giving you an example of a laptop. So if I want you to learn the how the laptop works, I will be making you, I'll training you for that, I'll make you learn, I'll give you more practical learning. But education is more theory based, or it is more pure rather than the applied knowledge. Training results are very quick, they are very visible. Education, it is basically apparent. It is not that apparent, and it is delayed. Why do we say it is delayed? Because after the end of a particular semester or a particular, let's say, year or a term, you come to know when you give your exams that whether you are able to get the education for that particular part, what you have learned or not. So the results are usually delayed. It is not something which is visible very quickly. When I talk about duration of training, see, there are two terms which are written. Trainings are usually short term, and education, if we talk about, they are more long term, because it takes a time for you to educate a group or a group of, let's say, people or students. It may be Again, I say a quarter, a semester, or a year. So if I talk about training programs, they are usually short, maybe an hour training, maybe a 1 day training, maybe a week long training, not more than that. Training brings improved change in the role or behavior of the employee, and education basically gives you a kind of knowledge and an horizon of that particular person or an employee changes. Now, if I talk about these two terms, how training and development differentiate, see, these are different areas: education, development, training, and usually, we get confused with it. That what do we mean by education? That is also learning. When we say training, that is also learning. So, I've just explained you how training and education are different. One is more practical, and the other is more theoretical. Same manner, when I say about training and development, I have spoken about it in the initial class also of mine, when I was explaining you functions of HR. That training is mostly non-managerial, and it is given to the operative, I would say, employees who perform day-to-day activities, where our development is done for the managers. So the upcoming managers who are going to hold certain positions, you develop them, and that is the reason we say development is a long term concept. The duration is also long term. In training, when I say what is taught, so more of technical and mechanical operations are taught. But when we talk about development, we more discuss about the conceptual ideas, the theoretical ideas, about the overall development of the upcoming manager, and not about the specific or job related skills which are otherwise done in a training program. Is it clear?
Yes, it is.
Okay. So let us move to now what are the important areas in this. I'll just move on quickly with these topics, because I guess you understand that what is the role of training. It increases efficiency of the employee, it boosts the morale of the employee, it makes them a better human, develop that better human relationship in the organization. It reduces supervision. Why do we say it reduces supervision? Once an employee is trained, you do not need to stand on his head and make him work according to what are the norms of the organization. You've already taught him, he knows about it, he's more acquainted with the environment, and thus does not requires any supervision further. So it is something which helps in the individual growth. It is very favorable for the climate of the organization, because trained employees will reduce the cost and wastages also. Trained employees will reduce accidents also. Trained employees will come up with a good productivity, improved productivity. Trained employees will deliver quality. Trained employees are those employees which become the future manpower of the organization. Their morale gets boosted, they are more efficient, you are able to reduce obsolescence in from the company or management. Obsolescence means when something becomes of no use, it becomes obsolete. So if you keep on training your employees, you are making them learn about the requirement of the environment, and thus obsolescence also gets reduced. So for employees, if I say what is the importance of training, so I can say it increases growth and satisfaction of the employees, it builds their morale, it develops their self esteem, it reduces injuries, and it also reduces absenteeism and switching. Very important things. What is absenteeism and switching? A person who's more trained is more aware about the job, he's more comfortable with the job, so he'll not avoid the work. He would like to be at that workplace, he would like to do that particular task, because that is something which is now known to him or her. He will not switch from your company to the other company, because he is comfortable with the role and responsibility, as he is a trained person. So that is what is the benefit for the employees. I've already spoken about how it is beneficial for the management. Is it clear? Is it clear?
Yes, it is.
Yes, ma'am, it is clear.
Okay, so very quickly, I would like to move with the process of training. See, when I want to plan any training program, how do I do that? First, I'll do a need analysis. Need analysis is basically, it comes from performance appraisal. You do performance appraisal, you come to know whether there is a need for providing training program or not. If suppose my employees are performing as per the standard, as per the target which is given to them, then there is no requirement for training program. They're doing work according to what is required. Let's say if there is any change in the external environment and you feel that there is a new software or a new technology or a new area where you want your employees to be acquainted to, so you will be arranging for a training for those employees working in the organization. So need analysis is basically, you study the environment, you study the employees and understand whether there's a requirement for training program or not. There are certain instructional designs what you prepare, so you do a kind of a thorough study. What is going to be the duration of training program, who will be the trainer, what is going to be the cost of the training program, how long will be the training program, what are going to be the phases in which training program will be done. That is to create an instructional design. Then you do a validation, that is it something, while you're planning all these entire training program, is it valid, is it the right time, are the group of employees for whom you have targeted, it is matching with the needs of the employees. So you try to have a validation between the training program and the areas which you have planned for them. Once you decide all these things, you implement that training program. What is this implementation? Implementation is basically where we say the method of training. That means it could be on the job or it could be off the job training program. I'll come to that in another 5 minutes. Just understand for now that implementation basically means what you have planned for training. Finally, when you put that into practice, in that one of the methods, whichever you have planned for training, that is called as implementation. And lastly, it is when you do a conduct a training program, you do an evaluation of it. You try to understand that the amount of money you have spent for the training program, was it really effective? Have my learners or my employees have learned from that particular training program? Has their efficiency increased? Is the productivity gone up? Can you see that change in the quality of the work what they are performing, or what they were performing previously and what they are performing now? So that is an evaluation and follow up of a training program is. Is it clear?
Yes.
ma'am.
Okay, let me just quickly
Yes, ma'am.
come to methods of training, and then I guess we can end the academic counseling session. I'll just share a slide, a PPT related to it, because that will be helpful for you also. Is it visible?
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so we usually have these two
Yes.
methods of providing training, that is on the job and off the job. Let us understand the meaning of it and you will understand the methods also. On the job is something where we say that an employee is working in the organization, doing his regular activities, and along with that you are providing him or her training. So he's not going to a separate place, he's not going to a separate, I would say, he's not off from his job, he is working in the organization. Along with that work what he does, you are providing him training simultaneously. So this is one of the most common methods which is used, because it saves for management, that the work does not comes to an end. You can make him learn along with the work what he is doing. So it is more of job instruction training, we call that, which is also called as JIT. JIT is providing the instruction to the employees while they are performing the job, or which is also called as OJT, on the job training methods. Now this is very I would say very economical. It is very less expensive. Why it is less expensive? You're not arranging anything where you have to send people, the work is coming to an end. No, they are working in the organization, along with the work, along with the task which is given to them. With that they are learning. So the trainee is highly motivated, he is learning along with the work what he or she is doing, he's encouraged to learn, You do not require many arrangements for the on-the-job training programs. As I said, it is done with the work itself. Few of the common on-the-job methods which are used are apprenticeship programs, JIT, planned progressions, job rotation, and coaching. Let me take them one by one very quickly. Apprenticeship is like when you give kind of a training to the skilled trades, like you are training a plumber, you are giving a kind of a training program to the electricians, the iron workers. These are all apprenticeship training programs, and they are basically where you decide a certain period of time for them. So during that training period, the trainee is paid less as compared to a full qualified worker. But yes, definitely there is a master worker, and under the master worker, the trainee learns many things and he is acquainted with the nature of the job, what he or she is supposed to perform. Second is JIT, which I've just explained, that job instruction training. What is that? Giving instruction and making him learn. So you tell him or her about the job, you give him essential information. Those informations are clearly instructed. There is a proper demonstration done. Usually we have these kind of trainings, JIT trainings in the different jobs, like, while you are using, like you talk about the Air Force Academy or the Navy, these kind of, the military jobs which are there, where you make the employees learn how to use a machine, how to work on a particular weapon, or how to save people if suppose there is an emergency on a air flight which is there. That is all what is by demonstration, you make them learn. Third is a planned progression. What is planned progression? Planned progression is a kind of a technique which says that you draw a career path and you make them understand that where you stand today or where you are right now, and what is required for you to gain or to understand or to have knowledge of, to achieve or to be at a particular place. So this method is basically where you make the training and development necessary by giving them a progress, a series of job requiring higher levels of knowledge or skill. We have just talked about it a few minutes back, that is career planning. That is also a training which is given. You make him sit, you make him understand that you stand here today, you need to be at a certain position, so advancement, what needs to be done, what more other skills you need to learn, which manner you will be acquiring those skills so that you ultimately reach to a certain position. Job rotation, we have already discussed about it yesterday, if you remember, that where you keep on rotating the jobs of the employees and you try to see that which person has a more potential for a particular, let's say, job in the organization. So trainee learn about different functions by rotating themselves into different position. They are given different assignments, they are given different work, and they keep on performing that work. Very good for the management also, because work does not comes to an end. Even if the employee is absent or there is an absenteeism, so still you have somebody else in the organization who can work up, do that task on behalf, because he has already done that on a rotation basis. So this is basically for the non-supervisory works. You will find that these kind of job rotations are practiced where various managerial training positions are there. You give them certain assignments, you observe those assignments, and you also do this job rotation to prevent stagnation. What is stagnation? Where you don't want a person that he becomes bored from the work what he or she is doing. So job rotation on a regular basis is practiced. Coaching is something which is not a very new word to you, which means that there is a trainer and there is a trainee. Trainer becomes a coach and gives a regular feedback to the trainee, makes him understand that what are the opportunities for him or her to do, how he can do that, what is his or her strength, how he or she can develop his or her strength and potentials, how he can overcome his weakness. So as a coach, as a coach who helps or guides the let's say the players in, let's say, at different athletic coachings which are provided, same manner line managers also, what do? They are like coach who give different kinds of instruction to the trainees, to the subordinates. They build their confidence, their trust, and make them in longer run that relationship between the superior, subordinate, and the enterprise is really very, very healthy. Now coming to the next part, that is off the job training. If I say off the job, the word itself is saying, see, you are not on your regular job, but you are asked to go to a particular place, attend certain lectures, discussions, case studies, certain demonstrations are done. It's more of theoretical information which is shared with the employee. On the job is more practical. So off the job is where you are not disrupted with your normal operation of work. It is done in a very systematized, organized manner. You are very clearly given a kind of a proper plan about the training program. Trainees are basically asked to go to a particular, as I said, room, or let's say attend a conference or a seminar or a lecture, or be a part of a discussion or a case study, and they basically learn different types of values. So these are different type of training methods which are there, and which is practiced also in the organizations. All the content related to this is available on your e-Gyankosh website, and that is of IGNOU. You can just refer that, and it will give you more detailed clarity about the same. Am I clear?
Yes.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
I'm very, very sorry. I've been very fast with the training methods, on the job and off the job methods, because looking at the time, it was getting late. So I thought I'll just finish that part with you. And that was important also for me to cover. So that's the reason I haven't skipped that part. We have completed our third academic counseling session today, and we will be meeting in our next academic counseling on 28th of January. My fourth academic counseling is on 28th of January with you. So you have time also in between. It is 22nd today. Go through all the blocks, block 1, block 2, block 3. And when we meet on 28th, I'll give first 5-10 minutes for you to ask me if you have anything to be answered from my side from the first 3 blocks, and then we'll start with the fourth block in the last academic counseling meeting on 28th. Any questions? Any concerns?
Yes, ma'am.
No, ma'am. All good.
I have a question, ma'am.
Yes, Mohammed.
Is
Mohammed,
my
just a minute. There's a question from Usman Nasir. I'll just answer that, and then I'll come to you. See, you have asked me, ma'am, off the job trainings is like for ad hoc staff training. No, the answer for that is no. It is not that the off the job trainings are for the ad hoc staff. Ad hoc is the staff which is on temporary basis. It is just depending upon the nature of the job that you decide, and also the cost of the training program, that whether you go for an on the job and off the job training, what you actually want the trainees or the employees to learn, and how best it can be made learnt to them. So we go for an on the job or off the job training. Off the job is usually that they are not doing the work. Like managers also, many times they are asked to go and attend certain case studies, or attend different sessions or seminars and workshops. Those are permanent on a managerial jobs, but still they attend the off the job training programs, maybe for a week time, or maybe for let's say an interval of 3 days or 4 days. They are sent to different places, they learn, they read, or rather I would say hear to certain lectures, and get more of theoretical knowledge about it. They do discussions in the conferences. So that is not for the ad hoc staff training. Am I clear, Usman?
Yes, ma'am, it's clear.
Okay. Okay. Yes, Mohammed. Now I request you to please put forward your question. Vasant, you want to say something?
No, ma'am. No, ma'am.
Okay. Mohammed, am I audible to you?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, Mohammed. Please put forward your question.
My question is with regard to the first unit. I hope there is no problem if I ask question with regard to our first class.
Okay. Yeah, there's no problem. Please go ahead, Mohammed.
Okay, I want little clarification in terms of personnel management and HRM with regards to their performance and role.
Okay. See, personnel management, if I say, that was a concept which was used previously. HR is a concept which we talk today. Personnel management is more narrow. It does not covers each and everything in the organization. It also deals with HR. It is also like, if I talk about, let me explain you in this way. Initially, when we used to talk about the HR who used to take care about the human resource in the organization, was called as a welfare officer. Then slowly what happened, he was only not taking care of the welfare things. He was part of different other things. He was part of recruitment. He was part of training. He was taking care of compensation. So then that name was changed to personnel manager. Then with the time, there were many changes. The HR manager was taking care of welfare, training, procurement, integration, compensation, and all the functions of human resource. So he was given the name of HR manager. Today, if I talk about, we also call the HR manager as change agent. He's a person who is the one who is interacting with the HR also, with the employees also, with the management also, and is going through all the different changes which are happening in the environment, and helping the management to adopt those changes. So this is what is basically, it is evolving. What you're asking me, personnel manager and HR manager, HR management is a more evolved concept of human resource. Okay, Mohammed?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
Okay. If we don't have any questions further to ask, I'm ending the academic counseling meeting, the third academic counseling, and I would like to thank each one of you for being so participative in between, and being so attentive while I was doing discussions and asking certain questions to you. And I hope to have the same energy for the coming fourth academic counseling meeting also. Thank you so much. And all of you can now leave the meeting and go.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you, madam.
Thank you so
Thank
much.
you, ma'am.
Thank you, ma'am.